As the dawn breaks, tranquility fades into exultant chants, orchestrated by the emerald blue Manas River, welcoming yet another mystic day in the splendor of nature called the Manas National Park. Manas National Park in western Assam is bounded on the north by the Royal Manas National Park in Bhutan, on the south by the populous region of North Kamrup, and on both east and west by forest reserves. Combining in itself pristine forests, breathtaking scenery, and a bewildering variety of flora, Manas National Park is an abode to such a marvelous diversity of wildlife that it enunciates an occurrence of a kind. Its varied habitats support 22 scheduled species, and it is the richest in species of all Indian wildlife areas. It is the core of an extensive tiger reserve that protects an important migratory corridor for elephants and other wildlife along the West Bengal, Arunachal Pradesh and Bhutan borders. The park's wetlands, which contribute to the immense diversity of flora and fauna, are of international importance. Manas is also the single most important site for the survival of endemic species such as the golden langur, the hispid hare and the pygmy hog. In fact, Manas boasts the only viable population of the pygmy hog, the smallest and rarest wild boar in the world. Such is the diversity and importance of Manas that it is the only site in the world recognized as a national park, a tiger reserve, a biosphere reserve, an elephant reserve, and a World Heritage Site. But in the 1980s, with the advent of the agitation by the Bodos, with the sole motive to preserve their identity and protect their rights, all the glorious titles bestowed on Manas seemed to be of no significance as it became a haven for armed Bodo militants. Armed attacks led to most of the park being abandoned by the Forest Department staff, as they were neither trained for guerrilla warfare nor were they equipped with good weapons.
Anything that was a symbol of Assam government was targeted. The bridges, any hospitals, schools, which might be conducive of army operation, were destroyed. And this park was very much protection oriented, sort of not very close to people. So very soon we were also targeted very fast.
The situation became so grave that the park remained closed for public viewing from 1987 to 1998. The forced evacuation of sanctuary staff resulted in the park being open to opportunistic professional poachers, timber smugglers, and fringe villagers. Consequently, Manas was declared a World Heritage Site in danger. Poaching has always been a threat, and in the chaotic times of the Bodo separatist struggle, the plunder was uncontrollable. The tiger population plummeted to 64 from a peak of 125 in the late 1980s. Almost the entire rhino population was wiped out, and over 1,000 strong elephant population dwindled to less than half. Valuable prey species such as the deer, wild boar and buffalo were steadily slaughtered and sold for meat in the bazaars of Assam. Timber mafia also flourished. Numerous trees were felled in significant areas for commerce and to acquire land for new settlement. Fire management of the grassland was also neglected, all adding to the corrosion of the park. At the ranger's office, a group of men are getting ready for their duty. They are not the usual forest guards, they are the service providers. These are the very people who once were poachers. There seems to have been a role reversal. Today, they are collecting their guns for a very different reason: to go inside the park to guard it, performing the role of saviors of the very wilderness they once destroyed. With a small backpack of food, they will be gone for 3 days to keep a vigil inside the park all by foot. There are some 57 villages with about 28,000 inhabitants, predominantly Bodo tribal people living on the fringe of the national park. The living standards are extremely low and income sources very limited. During insurgency, the disturbance, along with poverty, made the villagers more dependent on the park for their livelihood.
हमारे घर में ऐसा है कि मेरे लिए खर्चा देने के लिए मेरा माँ बाप का ऐसा ताकत नहीं है, इसलिए मुझे रुपये चाहिए, ड्रेस चाहिए, इसलिए मैं रुपये के लिए जंगल में प्रसार किया था, शिकार किया था। जानवर, जंगल का जानवर जो छोटा मोटा, छोटा से बड़ा तक जहाँ हमारा आँखों में जहाँ जानवर देखते हैं हम इसे मरते हैं। इसमें हमारा सबसे ज़्यादा मरते हैं हम ये क्या वेल बोर्ड ना क्या कहते हैं, इससे सबसे ज़्यादा मार दिया हम। और इसे पिगारी और हमने जानवर बड़ा से हम सिर्फ 2 हाथी मारा था, 2 हाथी और बाफेलो सार बाफेलो मार दिया हम, मेरा हाथों से मारे।
Today, Daneswar is a different man. He is one of the 42 men at Bansbari range who have accepted the challenge to guard the forest.
हम जंगल का जानवर मारते हैं, कितना रुपया मिलता है? एक दिन तो सुविधा ही मिलेगा इसको बचाने से। गांव का लोग भी कहता है आप लोग जाओ, अच्छा आदमी बनो।
Manas is maybe the first place in the whole world where a model of this kind is not only being practiced but also showing results.
जब से हम काम शुरू किया, इस जंगल में ड्यूटी दिए थे हम, इसमें हम जब पहले बार आया हम 1000 का ज़्यादा फंडा इस जंगल से ढूंढ कर निकले हैं। इसको हम फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट में जमा दिया है। और हम वो जो पोसर है ना, शिकारी वाला, हेलमेट गन लेने वाला, इसको हम 10 आदमी पकड़ कर हम फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट में जमा दिया है। और लकड़ी काटने वाला, इन लोगों को भी हम 100 से ज़्यादा पकड़े हैं। और ये जंगल में मानस का नदी में मछली मारने वाला भी है, इन लोगों को भी हम 5-6 आदमी पकड़े हैं।
Though induction of these men in the system can be open to a lot of debate, the grave situation has necessitated this approach.
जब 2003 में मैंने अगस्त में ज्वाइन किया था, फिर पहुंचा तो उस टाइम में बहुत था, फिर कोई आदमी नहीं आता था, विजिटर नहीं आता था, क्योंकि जो मेरा स्ट्रेंथ था उसी स्ट्रेंथ में इतना काम नहीं हो सकता है। हमारा तो 150 स्टाफ होता है, 100 स्टाफ यू विल गेट 60% टोटली हैंडीकैप एंड दे आर नॉट कैपेबल, आई मीन दे आर टोटली इनकेपेबल। तो उन लोग के लिए हाथी भी नहीं चाहिए। हमारा जाएगा तो फिर पैदल नहीं जाता है दूर, तो हाथी का ऊपर चढ़ जाता है तो दूर से देखता है शिकारी लोग, पहले तो पैर में चढ़ के देखता था, तो हाथी आया, दीपा में आया, नुको भागो, एम्बुश कर लेता था, कुछ भी रीजन नहीं, आके बोलेगा डिड फेटल ने फाउंड नथिंग, फॉरेस्ट नेशनल पार्क है, बहुत बिग एरिया है, तो वो बिग एरिया को कॉर्डन करना बहुत मुश्किल है। ठीक है, एक तरफा ये लड़का लोग बुलाया गया है, इसलिए बुलाया गया है, हर गाँव से सुन के लिया है उसको, बाप शिकारी था, खुद भी शिकारी हो गया, तो उसको बुला लिया। तो फिर रात को अगर हाथी खेत में आएगा तो उन लड़का लोग को भेज देते हैं हम हथियार लेके गांव में, वो लोग सो जाते हैं, तो गांव वाले पर विश्वास होता है, हाँ ठीक है पुलिस डिपार्टमेंट आ गया, कम से कम आ गया, तो डिप्यूटेशन का भी बहुत सॉल्व होता है। नहीं तो मेन एलिफेंट कंप्लीट बहुत होने वाला था, अभी तो कुछ भी नहीं है। उन लोगों का डे बाई डे मैंने फीडबैक्स मिल जाए उसको, कहाँ से आया, कौन आया, क्योंकि वो गाँव का है ना, उसको सारा इन्फॉर्मेशन उसको मिलता रहता है कि ये आदमी घुस गया, ये गांव से ये निकल गया, इन्फॉर्मेशन होता है। लेकिन जब लड़का लोग हमारा साथ नहीं होगा, गांव वाले नहीं होगा, हमको क्या इन्फॉर्मेशन मिलेगा? कौन आएगा इधर बोलने के लिए? ये गांव से 2 शिकारी अंदर हो गया, ये हथियार लेके आया, कुछ नहीं बोलेगा ना। लेकिन उन लोगों का नेटवर्क बहुत बढ़िया है, इसलिए अच्छा रिजल्ट होता है। जब तक आप गाँव वाले को हेल्प नहीं मिलता है, आपको कोऑपरेशन नहीं होता है, तब तक कुछ भी नहीं हो सकता है, क्योंकि हमको चाहिए रिलेशन चाहिए। विथ आर्ट मस्ट अंडरस्टैंडिंग ओनली वी कैन गो फॉर प्रोटेक्शन।
At Kaklabari, a group of service providers are having an early morning meal before they begin their regular duty in the park. After their meal, they will leave for the jungle, only to gather here again the next morning. With just one meal to sustain for 24 hours, their dedication is truly remarkable. All these ex-poachers have a similar story to tell.
12-13 बोसोरसो बोसोरनि समाव आं मालिनाव दंमोन बे समाव फरेस्टनि मानसिया लोङै जायै उतपात खालामोमोन खालामनानै गावजों गाव नांलायनायनि माबायावनो नाथाय जोंहानि न'खरखौ मैदेर लानानै गाख्रेबफैदोंमोन आरो बेबायदि मैदेर गाख्रेबनायनि माबाखौ लानानै फरेस्टनि मानसिजों मोनसे एगेन्स्ट बायदि सानमानानै हाब आंनि न'खौ ओरैबायदिहाय मावनो हागौब्ला आंबोथ' सासे सिखारि जानानै बा बिसोरखौ एसे बा इसोरजों नांनो थाखाय बा गान्दा मैदेर गावथारनायनि माबा लाइनखौ लानायसै आङो दिनै गान्दा गावलाय मैदेर गावलाय गावै गावै दिनै मै अमा बा जिखुनु जिब जुनार गावथारनानै बेनिफ्राय कनजारभेसन जिथिया जादों कनजारभेसन जानानै ओमफ्राय जेब्ला बुजायबाय बारायबाय कनजारभेसननि मानसि माखासेया जिथिया बेनिफ्रायनो माबानाय जाबाय आरो आङो ओमफ्राय जिथिया कनजारभेसननि मानसिया बुजायखांनानै नै दा डिउटि होग्रा भलन्टियार माबा जानानै डिउटि होग्रा माबानानै ओमफ्राय जिब जुनार बायदिसिना नुबाय बा नुनानै बिसिनि माबायाव अननाय फैबाय दिनै बिसोरखौनो बासायनो डिउटि होनाय माबा जाबाय जिहेतु सिखारि लोगो मोनो सिखारि हमनाय जायो माबा मोनसेबाबो दुश्मन मानसिखौनो हाग्रानि माबाखौनो हमनाय जायो आरो
Looking at Buddhisar and several others makes one wonder how gullible the locals are.
During last 16 or 17 years, when our movement was in the momentum, that time there was no civil administration in this park. So the officials of Manas Park, they wholly they left Manas Park. There was no guards or forest officials in the park. So local people, they found it is unprotected. No local people were allowed to have a kind of a small benefit from the park. They were not allowed to enter. They were not thought to be the part of Manas. The forest site was totally thought to be something quite separate from public. So I think from public there was some resentment, and of course some bad people, they started killing like animals like deers and all for their meat. And when there was no administration, the poachers and the smugglers of rhino horn or this was tiger skins and all, they encouraged the local people to kill and give them rhino horn at the cost of small amount. The poor local people, they engaged themselves in killing rhinos or other animals. It was very bad situation, very bad situation.
The villagers' dependence on the park has reduced significantly in recent times. But if Manas is to be left untouched, the only viable option is to have local people's participation. As the locals are extremely backward economically, they need to be shown alternate ways of sustenance and income generation. MMES is one of the first NGOs in this area which has been successful in promoting the concept of local people's participation. They have not only initiated the process of induction of service providers for the protection of the park, but also introduced the concept of ecotourism.
अभी हम लोग का एमएमएस में टोटल 200 जनरल वॉलंटियर है। इसमें से हम लोग हमारे मानस मस्जिद केंद्र को दो भाग में विभक्त किया है। एक तो ग्रुप है इको टूरिज्म और दूसरा ग्रुप कंजर्वेशन ग्रुप है। और कंजर्वेशन ग्रुप को हम लोग दो भाग में डिवाइड किया है। दूसरा ग्रुप मानस में डेली पेट्रोलिंग करता है, रास्ता का काम करता है और वाइल्ड लाइफ का हैबिटेट मॉनिटरिंग करता है। और जो लोग अवेयरनेस कंजर्वेशन वॉलंटियर ग्रुप है वो लोग गांव-गांव जाके मानस के बारे में और नेचर के इम्पोर्टेंस में बारे में वो लोग विलेज लेवल कैंपेन करता है।
Ever since its inception, MMES has set up around 200 anti-poaching camps and built 60 kilometers of road inside the park. A visit to the museum built by this local NGO tells the story of their many achievements. They have facilitated social surrender of 57 poachers with country handmade guns and confiscated many fishing traps, iron traps, spears, bows and boats used for illegal hunting. They have been actively involved in wildlife traffic control. Clouded leopard, great hornbill, Himalayan squirrel and porcupine are some of the animals rescued by them from the local market. At the community level, they have created cultural self-help group for tourism and ladies self-help group to empower women and promote handicrafts. In fact, things started looking up for Manas when the Bodo Liberation Tigers, a rebel group, decided to give up their violent ways by signing an agreement for creation of Bodo land in 2003.
We are tribal people, forest and life of the tribal people, it is interdependent. We know, our people know, without forest and wildlife we cannot survive. And forest and wildlife, they will survive only when we protect them. So when we have been blamed for destruction of forest and wildlife, it is our property, and we realize that we should be protector, we should be savior of wildlife and protector of forest. That's why after the formation of the council, we have given top priority for conservation and protection of forest and wildlife. That's why more and more youth from this area have been encouraged by the Borderland Authority, by our leadership, to take part in the movement of conservation and protection of forest and wildlife as well.
Setting up anti-poaching camps that were destroyed during insurgency, conducting regular and intensive patrolling of the park along with weapons training and building back lost morale of the guards are some of the challenges in front of the government. Nevertheless, there certainly has been an improvement in the law and order situation.
अभी तो हम लोग का मौजी केंद्रीय कंजर्वेशन एरिया हम लोग डिक्लेयर किया है। इसमें अराउंड 250 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर है। इसमें जीरो पोचिंग है और जीरो टिम्बर स्मगलिंग होता है।
All these developments have made the Forest Department of Assam, along with Wildlife Trust of India and its partner, the International Fund for Animal Welfare, join hands to reintroduce rhinos in the park under the Indian Rhino Vision 2020 program. The park reopened for public viewing a few years back. Ever since, foreign tourists have again started coming in.
See, the first season we had around 300 foreign tourists. Second season we had more tourists, around 400. So this year we are expecting more. So definitely the increment will be more.
Manas has again become a favorite among the locals. There has been a significant increase in the number of local tourists coming to the park for picnics and sightseeing. Things are definitely looking different today. Roads are being built for better patrolling, and grassland management has been started by burning tracts of old grasses before the monsoon so that fresh showers allow the new shoots to grow. This is a vital tool in grassland management as new grasses attract herbivores, and with a healthy deer population, carnivores too will flourish. All the recent developments show that Manas is certainly on its path to regain the lost glory.
It's coming up because of many reasons. Because the leadership is very much emotionally and practically involved of the Borderland Territorial Council. The locals are very passionate in the eastern side and also in the central side. In the western side, it's picking up very much. No dithering at the moment. Because they have sensed one thing. They have nothing more valuable than Manas in terms of future value. It may not have come to them at a moment as dollars as such, but I think they have understood in their heart. It doesn't pay to have a dead rhino inside, or it doesn't pay to have a dead tusker inside.
जो बोडोलैंड टेरिटोरियल काउंसिल मिलने के बाद हम सोचा है कि हम लोग फिर डेवलपिंग का काम करना चाहिए। तो हम सोचा है कि हम लोग का इलाके में कोई बड़े बड़े फैक्ट्री इंडस्ट्री बनने के लिए कोई रॉ मटेरियल्स नहीं है। तो हम लोग सोचा है कि हमारे पास में एक सोना जैसा मानस नेशनल पार्क है, तो उसको हम बचा के भी कोई हम लोग का जीने का अल्टरनेटिव वे ढूंढ सकता है।
Today, there are almost 80 ex-poachers working for the protection and conservation of Manas. As compared to their counterparts, who have either elephants or bicycles to move around, they perform their duty on foot. Despite lack of monthly salary or any basic facility that is being offered to government staff, and only a meal as payback, their dedication is truly commendable. Where do these men go from here is still a question mark. The government is yet to find an appropriate way to accommodate them in the system. Until that happens, their future is very uncertain.
सब बोलता है ये नेशनल पार्क अच्छा हो गया, ये रेंजर ने अच्छा काम किया, पार रेंजर ने अच्छा किया, लड़का लोग अच्छा काम किया, लेकिन पैसा देने के टाइम थोड़ा पीछे हाथ जाता है आदमी लोग। क्यों हेल्प नहीं करता है? वाई दे आर नॉट कंट्रीब्यूटिंग दिस बॉयज? इसको सबको अगर कंट्रीब्यूशन होता तो फिर है ठीक है, अगर नहीं मिलेगा तो कितना देर रखेगा, कितना चलाएंगे आप? दिस इज द क्वेश्चन, बिग क्वेश्चन फॉर मी।
But despite all odds, the service providers are very clear about what they want to achieve. Their aim is to remove Manas from the list of World Heritage Sites in danger. They are aware that it is an enormous task, as destruction to Manas is too grave. They have a long journey to make, a journey filled with responsibility and expectations to nurture, grow and preserve the only wealth they have. But with families to look after and no proper monetary compensation, one wonders how long hope alone can retain the spirits of the service providers to protect Manas, although some seem to be very certain.
शुरू करना भी होगा कि, लेकिन मैं नहीं करूँगा। मैंने सर को पहले से बोल दिया, सर मैं ये काम कभी दिन भी नहीं करूँगा। कुछ नहीं कुछ रास्ता अपन का दिल में ढूंढते लूँगा, ऐसा बोलते सर।